Hey guys, my name is David. Guys, I'm David. Today is going to be the very first episode of a new series I like to call Mukbang in Medicine, and I have a very special first guest.
Hi everyone, I'm Serena Song. I'm also a first year med student. David and I met at, is it okay to say the school?
Yeah,
Okay, David and I met at MCG and I'm very excited to be here.
yeah. And so this series basically is us. More like I'm just gonna talk to my classmates basically, and then ask about their interest in medicine, talk about any life stories, what kind of inspired them to pursue medicine, and then in the meantime, we will also eat some pretty good food made by moi. But today on the menu we have
Mm-hmm.
ramen, classic mukbang food. I made some fried chicken and some stir fry, and then some egg rolls.
Yeah.
So let's dig in. Yeah.
Yay! So excited. I'm so hungry.
Yeah. And then basically, I'm just going to be asking you a bunch of questions. This is like a conversation almost. And then we're just going to be making, food noises as we eat.
Alrighty.
First off, what do you think about the food so far?
Oh, the spread is amazing. Honestly, when I suggested we eat ramen, I was thinking like just ramen. So seeing all of this is insane. Like,
You ever see those YouTube videos where the lady is just sitting with a big old wok of noodles
oh
and then
yeah.
she has like sides and she slurps it up with that?
Yes, and she's always so small and petite. And then the food is like insane. I'm like, where does it go?
Yeah, that was my inspiration. Whoever that person is, I forgot her name. But anyways,
um, yeah, this is nice, especially as a med student who is on student loans and doesn't have a lot of money. Like, having protein is a luxury. So, like, thank you, David.
no, I mean, I think a big part of my week is like meal prepping.
Mm-hmm.
So this for sure saves a lot of time and money for me. And so cooking just, is a good way to do that. But
Okay.
anyways, let's get on to our first question. Are you
Okay.
ready? I
Yes.
just want to wait for the food first.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so
I eat really slow. Just letting
that's
you know.
okay. That's okay.
So you might be done by the time I take my first one.
There's a reason why we have so much spread.
Okay.
Okay. But what inspired you to pursue medicine?
All right, that's a really good question. I think ever since I was young, I was always kind of interested in medicine. Me being the youngest in my family, I felt like everyone seemed to have a role. Like, my dad was my dad. He'd be the person that goes to work and then brings home money. My mom would take care of me and my sister. My sister was a student, and like at that time, I didn't really know how I fit into my family. So I just remember I would always have fun playing doctor. So like anytime someone got an injury or a paper cut, I'd like whip out the band-aids and be like, let me help you and all these things. And so I always liked science too as a kid. So I think medicine was what I was interested in, but I didn't know if I wanted to do like doctor or like PA or PT or nurse or anything like that. But I think what got me interested in pursuing an MD was this experience I had in college, actually. I volunteered as a music therapy assistant.
Oh, cool.
And so I got to work with a lot of traumatic brain injury patients and spinal cord injury patients who either were paralyzed or because of the brain injury, they couldn't speak or also lost motor function and stuff like that. And I really liked what we were doing with the music therapy. It was interesting to see the patient's progress, but I also thought like, oh, what could we have done before they got to this point, so in a more acute setting to like help these patients. And so that's how I got interested in pursuing like an MD and stuff like that. So
wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Okay, that's very inspiring.
Okay.
Wow, I feel like that's very heartfelt. Seeing all those patients that you mentioned in the music therapy. So like, what kind of drove you to doing that volunteering project?
So I really liked music as a kid. I grew up playing violin and piano and guitar and chorus and stuff like that. And so I think when I saw this volunteering opportunity, I was really curious, like, oh, how do they use music in medicine? Because to me, it just seems so different.
Yeah.
But then actually seeing how much music can be beneficial for patients, to me was mind-boggling. For example, if a patient has had like a brain injury and then they can't speak, for example, because they have damage to like the Wernicke's or Broca's area or whatever,
Right.
they won't be able to speak words, but they can sing songs perfectly fine, which is crazy. And like seeing that firsthand, I was like, oh my god, like what is going on in the brain? So that pursued me to do neuroscience as my major during
Okay.
undergrad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's how I got interested in music therapy, was just through the music aspect and the curiosity with medicine. So yeah. Uh
Wow.
huh.
Also, the way you're eating ramen is pretty unique. I've never seen
Oh,
that before.
really?
Yeah,
I feel like
no.
a lot of people do this. It's like when
Oh,
it's too hot or something, or
yeah.
like if you want to separate the noodles from the soup, you
Yeah.
put it in a little makeshift cup.
Okay.
Yeah, you never done this before?
No, I've always just
Really? Oh wow.
no.
This is nice too.
Like when you like really hot ramen in your mouth and you're like, wow, that was me as a kid because I know how to control my temperature. But all right, let's dig in now. Get our grub in. Hopefully the steak isn't too overcooked, but we'll see.
So is this kind of like hibachi style, like stir fry?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
okay.
little tough, but okay.
That's fine. It's great. Oh my god.
Mm.
It's better than I would have ever cooked it because I suck at cooking meat
Mm-hmm.
and just food in general.
Really?
Yeah, I usually eat out
Okay.
or I eat the food my mom makes me.
Okay. What's your favorite
I really like Korean soups.
food? Mm.
hmm
Do you have examples of
I like kimchi jjigae, just regular kimchi stew.
Mm-hmm.
I like any spicy soup. So like yukgaejang, it's like a beef and leek soup.
Yeah.
I also like 갈비탕. No, but that's not spicy. But 매운 갈비탕,
Right.
that's pretty good too. I also like 감자. Wait, what was it called? 감자탕.
What?
감자탕 is good. Yeah, I could go on, but these are all really good soups.
I gotcha. I'm also a big fan of soups. I didn't really grow up with Korean soups, but like I'm Vietnamese, so I grew up with like pho, bún bò Huế, bún riêu, all that stuff. So big fan of all the soup noodles and stuff like that. So
I love pho and banh mi.
Oh yeah,
it's really good, and I love like vermicelli,
Uh-huh.
spring rolls, the bun bo.
Bún bò Huế.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah. That brings me to my next question.
Okay.
So I feel like being people of color, that's a big part of our identities and stuff. So we're talking about our food culture, stuff like that. How has that shaped your kind of like identity with medicine? Gonna grab a chicken. Enjoy the sounds. Pretty good.
So I guess, is the question asking like how has it affected me, or how does it affect like my view on medicine, or like?
Yeah, both questions will apply to the question. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've had any direct effects on me where I felt like I was disadvantaged in any way because I was a person of color. I will say though, when I was, I guess this kind of is me being affected, but I used to live in Ohio when I was very little, and so when I was in Ohio, we lived in Akron, which is a very small town, very homogenous. There's not much diversity there. And so I think we were probably like one of the few, if not only, Asian people in our neighborhood, as well as like in my school. I think it was me and like some other Asian kid, but that was it out of the like 200 kids there. But I do remember distinctly that like there was a clear difference culturally between my family and everyone else in the neighborhood, as well as there's a big language barrier, especially with my mom because she doesn't really speak English that well. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was we had a like a pediatric physician who took care of me and my sister. But he was like a white man, your stereotypical white male doctor and stuff. But I remember he made us feel very welcome, and he tried to make sure that despite the language barrier, my mom understood everything about me and my sister's sickness, if we ever got sick and stuff like that. And I think that was something that I really appreciated. And so that made me think like, oh, when I treat someone, even if they look different from me, I want to make sure that these cultural barriers or language barriers don't really influence the quality of care. Which is why like I also wanted to put some effort in like learning different languages, like Spanish or like ASL or stuff like that.
You know
But
ASL?
no, I don't. I
Oh.
want to know ASL. That's
Okay.
yeah. So that's something that I want to also pursue on the side, like learning different languages.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I guess that's my long-winded answer to your question. It's something that is important and something that I also want to make sure I keep in mind when I'm doing my care as a physician. But
Mm.
yeah, personally, I don't feel like it's really affected me, but I know a lot of people it has affected them.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, I only asked that question because growing up, there was a time when my mom asked me, "Hey, would you be more comfortable with driving like 40 minutes to Gwinnett or something?" Because I'm from Clayton County.
Mm-hmm.
That area doesn't have a lot of Asian doctors, specifically Vietnamese doctors. At that time, I was there at least.
Mm.
Now there's a couple of them, which is pretty cool. But at the time, my mom was like, "Okay, do you want to drive like 40 minutes up north to find yourself, a Vietnamese doctor, so that we can, take care of you, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And I was like 9, 10 years old, so I was like, "No, it's okay, mom." But I think retrospectively, thinking back at it now, I realize how important it is to, for parents at least, in a pediatric setting, to be able to communicate with a doctor, because I think my mom was scared that she wouldn't be able to help me because she didn't really understand what the doctor was talking about, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I am very glad that the doctor did take care of us. They made sure that we had an interpreter if we needed an interpreter, and then it was like a slower process. But I'm very glad that I was there, which is why I wanted to ask the question, because I realized that so many people with language barriers, at least in terms of the Asian community, when you have the American doctor that doesn't speak other languages, it's a little bit hard to communicate at that point of care.
Oh yeah,
So.
for sure.
Hmm.
I think even for my parents, once we came to Georgia,
Hmm.
which is a lot more diverse, and there's a big Asian community here,
Hmm.
um, I will say that ever since we came here, our primary care is now a Korean doctor that my parents can speak with.
Hmm.
But it's difficult for me though because
Mm.
I don't speak Korean that well. So and he is also my doctor. So there has been times where like I didn't really feel like super comfortable because I had to speak in Korean when I was talking to the doctor. So I guess it like worked both ways, but
Hmm.
definitely like you said, the language barrier is really important.
Hmm.
And trying to have clear communication and either using an interpreter or just putting more time and effort into communicating with the patient is really important. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So for all you future doctors out there,
And
interpreters are important.
we're gonna have a session on it this week
Yeah,
too.
we are.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting. Oh, excuse me, I'm gonna cut that out. Don't worry. But yeah, very exciting. I'm very excited about Thursdays.
You know, I will say though, I used to work at the ED, right?
Okay.
And then we would use the interpreter a lot because there would be a lot of like non-English speakers who
Mm-hmm.
come. But there are some limitations with the interpreter
Mm-hmm.
because we use phone interpreter instead of like iPad video chat.
Yeah.
So the interpreter, they can't see anything that's going on. So they can't see how much distress the patient is in.
Yeah.
They also can't see the situation. So there's actually been a lot of like miscommunication because of that as well.
Really.
Yeah, for example, the patient is like, "Oh, like I'm in a lot of pain," and they're like holding their stomach.
Yeah.
So we see like, "Oh, probably the pain is in the stomach, right?"
Mm-hmm.
But then the interpreter who's on the phone and that doesn't see that, they can't they hear that, "Oh, I'm in a lot of pain," and they'll translate it, but they won't directly know that it's the stomach that's pain. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I don't know. Maybe that's something that they'll talk about in the class lecture, but
Yeah.
I'm curious how medical interpretation is being like developed and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of our lectures, just class in general.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been feeling about med school so far as a first year medical student?
Yeah, good question. It's interesting because I think when I was an undergrad student,
Mhm.
I was um, such a gunner, like
Oh
very
yeah.
try hard
Okay.
person. Like for me, I felt like
Oh wait, define a gunner for people that don't know.
okay, I this is what I think it is. Someone who like is very focused and works very very hard so that they can achieve not only like something good but better than good. You know, they're just striving for the best, like a perfectionist kind of, right? Isn't that what it is?
I think there's more of a negative connotation
Oh
sometimes.
sure, really?
Like I think from the movies or like TV shows or whatever. I always thought gunners as like people that are trying too hard.
Oh.
But that said, I feel like you said, gunners are just trying to be the best they can be.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
So
I didn't know about the negative connotation. So, okay, take that part out. No good. I was very try hard, I guess. Like
okay.
I would for me, I think I was very anxiety driven
Yeah.
during undergrad. So like I tried to make sure that I was always on top of my studies and like I didn't really have leeway for like a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So and that backfired on me during my senior year because I had a lot of health complications.
Okay.
And so I think I took that mindset about having a balanced lifestyle into medical school. And so I was like, oh, when I start medical school, I'm gonna make sure that, one, I study hard, but two, I also take care of myself, like mentally and physically. So that was something that I struggled with in the beginning, but I think now I have kind of found a good balance between studying and taking care of myself. And so honestly, I feel like med school has been a lot smoother for me than undergrad, which I think is an unpopular opinion because obviously the amount of content we have to learn in med school is so much more different than undergrad. It's like literally drinking water out of a fire hose, that's what they say. But I don't know why, but I feel like it's been pretty manageable and been pretty okay for me at least. Yeah, but maybe it's just like the mind control and the stress management that I've gotten better at that's helped me a lot, but I don't know. Yeah, but it's been fun, honestly. It's helpful, especially because the content we're learning I find a lot more interesting in med school compared to undergrad. We have to do like orgo and like physics and statistics, all these like random classes that are important, very important, but it's not.
No, I think I feel the exact same way. I think going into med school, I was terrified. I was like, yeah, water bottle in an ocean, from all the warnings I've gotten from people. But I think going into it, like the stuff we're learning is like kind of really cool. Like right now we're learning about diabetes. I was pre-diabetic before, right?
Really?
Yeah, so I fixed it through like exercise and diet and stuff like that. So the fact that we're learning about that and like how the mechanism works, like why exercising and diet works for it, it's kind of like, dude, like this is like what a doctor does, it's really cool. So like I feel like I'm more in tune with lectures. When I watch lectures, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then like I actually actively try to look out for other information tying into what we're learning compared to like with like orgo. I was like, oh, okay, time to do this lecture and then just write notes and then just do passive learning and stuff. It wasn't like I wasn't like actively trying to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be an organic chemistry major, blah blah blah, and then doing all this stuff. So
oh yeah,
med school has been pretty fun. So how have you been managing like just like your schedule and stuff? You mentioned you used to have like a schedule you planned out. Kind of like talk about that.
So I used to be very anal with my schedule. I would schedule like every 30 minutes what I'm gonna do and stuff like that, which I think is pretty standard for med students at least. But I think at a certain point I realized that I make the schedule and then I don't particularly stick to the schedule, so then that would stress me out even more. So then now I still make a schedule, but it's definitely more like lenient. I think I keep into consideration extraneous factors that could influence the timing. And so I would, instead of giving myself like writing an hour in my calendar for a certain lecture, I may put like an hour and 15 or like an hour and 30 just so I have some leeway. And then I feel less stressed if I don't follow the schedule.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, honestly though, I think it's very important having a schedule because it helps you plan out and see exactly what your next few days are going to look like. And so it's very helpful, but at the same time, I feel like it's also important to be flexible with your schedule, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of the opposite.
Oh, really?
Because before med school, I didn't have a schedule at all. Like everything was in my head up until my senior year. And then my senior year, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should like plan out my day a little more. So I had a little planner, like a little notebook. Not even a planner, it's just like a blank notebook. I would write down like today's date and stuff I needed to do. And as long as I finished what was on that list by the end of the day, I'd be like, nice,
Yeah, that's good. That's a good start though, honestly.
But I found myself a lot of times like waiting till like 10 p.m.
Mm,
So I would have 2 hours to do like four different things, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
oh no. So nowadays in med school, I kind of went away from that, and I use Google Planner now. I plan out kind of like every hour of
Mm.
my day, and that has helped me like kind of like make sure I do my assignments or do my learning summaries, and then look at this lecture, look at this PowerPoint, review this, do Anki, whatever, and it helps me like kind of become stable.
Oh
So
yeah.
kind of compared to you, where you kind of like give yourself a little more leeway, which is great, great to take a
Mm-hmm.
break.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of was like, you know what, bro, you need to lock in.
Yeah. I mean, I guess everyone has a different study plan, study
Yeah,
schedule, and different habits too. So
yeah.
yeah, whatever works for you, you know. So I'm curious,
Hmm.
is your MBTI like, are you a P instead of a J?
I've taken that test like 10 times.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a P. I don't know what an I is.
I is
Oh
introvert.
wait, just kidding. I switch between I and E.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm an F. I don't know what a T is.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry. I
Okay.
think. How about I take the test again
Mhm.
after, and then I'll put it here.
Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think MBTI is very interesting because like
Hmm.
there's I think there's a certain MBTI that is common in people who pursue medicine, and I
Hmm.
think those are ESTJ if you're a man, and INTJ if you're a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting, right? I mean, obviously these are all just like, you know,
Hmm.
not statistically backed up or anything like that, but I just saw remember seeing that somewhere online. But
Can you describe
yeah,
each one?
so the first one, I feel like this is my little MBTI TED talk, but the first one is I versus E. I is introvert and E is extrovert. And I think that's pretty self explanatory. The next one is N versus S. I think N is someone who's more like intuitive. So they have a lot of what if thoughts. They think a lot about hypothetical situations and stuff like that. Whereas an S is someone who is more realistic. So they just look at what's in front of them and that's kind of it. Like they don't really think about the what ifs or like the other stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then T versus F is the next one. F is someone who's very like in touch with their emotion. They may be more like sensitive to like their own feelings and like other people's feelings. And then a T is someone who is more logical. So I guess more like mind thinking instead of heart thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like logical versus like going with your heart. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And then P versus J is the last one. J is someone who is very like strict about schedules and they're always trying to plan. Whereas P is someone who is a little bit more carefree and they like to be more spontaneous. So yeah, that's the MBTIs.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you? Who are you
I'm
asking?
INTJ.
INTJ.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. For the longest time, I was INFJ, so more like the F is more like emotional and stuff. But
Hmm.
then I don't know what happened, but after a certain point, I just turned it to a T. Got numb to my emotions.
Done with your emotions. Oh no.
I feel like you said okay, I or E, whichever. Maybe more E, because as someone who's I, you seem more E to me. But E, N, F, P. I think.
Let's see if you're right by ending this video. Okay. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of my friends are really into like the personality test and all that stuff. So
Mm.
it's really interesting that the Myers Briggs test is so like well known. So
That's true.
maybe you could do research on it one day. And,
Maybe.
possible
Yeah.
publication.
Oh,
A little case
maybe.
report. Yeah, should be interesting. Mm. Okay. Next question is going to be, what has been the most favorite thing you've learned in med school so far?
Mm.
It could be personal, or it could be like educational. Okay.
Huh. Mm. Favorite thing I've learned. Hmm. What is a favorite thing I learned? Honestly, for me, I really like all the stuff we learned in anatomy lab, which I think is also an unpopular opinion.
Is that anatomy? What?
But I just think it's so interesting seeing what we see in the textbooks or like online as the human body in terms of its musculature, the vasculature, and all these things, and then actually seeing that inside of like a donor or like a human body to me is very interesting because it kind of like one makes it very real, and two, you can also see the different anatomical variations within the different people and how like a male body may present the anatomy differently than like female body, or like the different ages also, like a 95-year-old donor may look very different than like a 65-year-old donor, or like a donor that has had a history of like tumors may also look very different than someone who's not had that. And so I think it's just really interesting to see, and I particularly really liked learning about the brachial plexus. And I feel like seeing all the different nerves inside of the body was very interesting as well. I remember at that time, my boyfriend was looking at me kind of weird because when we were learning about the brachial plexus and we saw it in the donor, I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, I wonder how your brachial plexus looks like.
Oh no. Yeah.
It's kind of a psycho thought now that I think about it. But I don't know. I just really like learning the anatomy and seeing the cadavers, and like it's a little grotesque. I won't lie, you know, like when we took out the brain, and we like did the saw around the head and then popped the skull and then like popped the brain and like scooped the eyeball and, you know, like cut down the sagittal section here and you like open up the head, you know, it's a little grotesque.
It's a little crazy what we do as a medicine, you know. Like really a regular person would not do this at all. So very grateful to all the donors out there, but
so
oh, wow. Great answer. Okay. Let's focus on the food. Now, I know we've been talking a lot, so I want to give you a little chance to eat, you know?
No, sorry. This is what I mean by I'm a very slow eater. Like, I take forever.
No, you're good. But, well, yeah.
Well, everything is amazing, by the way. Like, this is great.
Thank you. Everything was made from scratch, except for the vegetables. The vegetables, I got the frozen stuff.
Did you made this from scratch?
Oh, sorry. This was also frozen. Okay. The chicken was from scratch. Okay. Period.
You grew the chicken? You grew the chicken?
Okay.
I'm joking.
The fried chicken was made with love and not from processed stuff.
Ooh, you seasoned it.
I marinated it. And the best part is like a pack of chicken, like you can get like 16 drumsticks for $5.
Oh wow.
So this is like what, 6 drumsticks?
Where? Costco?
Sam's Club. Well, actually Costco. I think Costco, yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. I think Costco is something like that. One of the wholesalers, but yeah.
It's funny because I remember during the first week of this module, we were learning about like GERD and stuff like that and how it's like exacerbated by like, spicy food, greasy food. I was like, oh no.
My entire diet.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's more common in like Asian folks, right? Because our diet is so rich in spices and stuff like that.
I think there's also a genetic component as well, but kind of like you said, I think culture does play a big role into like how we manage specific things. And with GERD, like you said, you know, Korean people, Vietnamese people, we eat like a bunch of spicy soups. We eat a bunch of like, you know, my folks actually like they would eat rice and meat, whatever, and then after every bite, they would bite a piece of chili. Yeah, like just like a straight Thai chili, and it's like
Thai chili too.
Yeah, and then like, and I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's super duper spicy, and then it's like, like oh.
Because Thai chili is really spicy.
Yeah.
Because I remember my mom, she would like get the dried Thai chilies. She would cut one chili up and put it in our like something like this. She just put one chili in it to make it spicy, but it's like so pretty spicy with that one chili. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
Okay, so kind of going away from the whole like, you know, like the education stuff. Let's just have a little more fun, you know. What has been your favorite memory that's been non-medical the past year as a medical student?
Honestly, I think it was when we all went to that paint place with for Joanne's birthday.
Yeah.
And then we all took the photos where we were making that star thing, and then we got painted on.
Here's the picture.
Oh. Yeah, that was really fun for me. And I like how we took photos that night because it's like it'll be memories now. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Yeah. So I still look back at that photo very fondly. I'm like,
yeah.
oh. You know, obviously we all went to Miami too. That was really fun.
Mm.
Yes.
I think sometimes whenever I'm like procrastinating, I just like hop in my bed. I'm like, I'm so tired, so I scroll through my photo album. I'm just like, oh, we did that. We did that.
Right?
Because I think time feels so fake in med
Mm-hmm.
school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like a day is like it feels like during the day it feels like a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
But then like when you look back, you're like, wow, it's already a week past when we whatever we did whatever. It's just like, can you believe we got white coded not even like 5 months ago?
I know, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's only been
Mm.
5 months,
I
but it's
know.
already been 5 months.
We're almost done with our first year too.
Yeah, we have another month and a half left, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, a month and a half.
It's crazy. I feel like the weeks go by like days, don't they?
Yeah, but then the days go by like weeks.
Weeks, exactly.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
day feels so long because we do so much. You know what I mean?
And then like we wake up a little early nowadays, and we sleep late because we study so late.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah.
I'm curious. Do you take naps in the middle of the day?
So I have a really bad habit.
Okay.
And crazy thing is, we learned about this during the GERD week too, how sleeping after meals is really bad for you.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit where after I eat like a heavy meal or like just like a meal in general, I get really like sleepy, tired, and if I don't have coffee, I'm like I lean over my bed when I'm studying or something, and I just knock out. And then I would just stay there and nap for like 30 minutes, an hour, sometimes 2 hours. It's like really bad, and then it's like it's a bad habit. I need a break for sure because I don't want GERD. But I think I used to nap in college, which is why I kind of build up to now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't plan or schedule naps, so it really messes up my schedule. But I do love napping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I always nap after like a big meal.
Yeah.
And one thing I heard though is that if you eat something and you lay down, you want to make sure you lay down on your left side.
Because your stomach is on your left side.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm also yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Gotta make sure those stomach juices.
but yeah, I also really like taking naps too. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one that takes naps.
Mhm.
Because like you said, sometimes they can really mess with the schedule.
Yeah.
Especially because you don't know if it's gonna be a 10-minute nap
Or
or
a 3 hour nap.
exactly. Yeah. Sometimes I wake up, I'm like, oh, it's already dark outside. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, what year is it?
No, I'm pretty guilty though, because on Fridays, like after our quizzes, I would like work out and then go home and then shower, and then I'm like, you know what? I deserve a nap. And then it goes from like 4 p.m. to like 8 p.m.
Oh, right.
I'm like, oh no, my entire day is gone.
Yes, and then you wake up and you can't fall asleep at night now, so you end up staying up really late. So
Well, I fall asleep though.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I love sleeping. It's like my hobby, low key.
No, me too. I love sleeping. I feel like I
Yeah.
need at least 10 hours of sleep to like be fully functional.
Yeah, I wish I got 10 hours of sleep sometimes.
Oh, how much do you usually think you get?
It depends. If I'm like really stressed out, I might get like 4, probably 4. Because I would sleep at like what 2:30, 4, 3 p.m., 3 a.m. sometimes, and then wake up at 7.
Really?
But that's only when I'm like really stressed out. I do understand the importance of sleep though. But it's just like sometimes when you're stressed out, it's hard to manage. But I do try to get at least a good 6-7 hours.
That's good.
Yeah, every night. Yeah.
I remember when we were learning about the importance of sleep. There's that one lecture.
Yeah.
It's like it's so important that you get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't, then you're gonna have all these like problems and medical conditions. And then I was like, I bet like 100% of us are reading this and being like, oh shit, it's like 2 a.m. and like I should be sleeping.
Have you ever seen those memes where it's like, doctor recommends sleep, good hygiene, good diet, blah blah blah, and the next day doctor's like slumped over, like like smoking a cig or something, and it's like, oh man, like listen to my words, not my actions, something like that.
That reminds me of this meme I saw. It was this grandma. I think she's like very very old grandma, like 80s or 90s or something. But she has like a Pepsi addiction. She needs to drink like multiple cans of Pepsi in a day. And that's her thing, which is you do you. But it's funny because she comes out on this interview and she's like, oh, the doctors told me that I need to quit Pepsi, otherwise I'm gonna die. But all of them are dead. She was like, I outlived all the doctors.
Oh, I have seen that video before.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd be like that. So I'm curious because sometimes this happens to me
Hmm.
as someone who is an N for an MBTI. I think about all these random stuff that doesn't matter. But I was thinking, I was like, by choosing a career in medicine, am I shortening my life expectancy? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think there's for sure enigmas because like there are doctors that live to 90, there are doctors that live to 100.
Mm.
There are also doctors that live to 30 or 20 or 40.
I'm
So
at 30. I bet they're not even a doctor yet. Like they're probably still in residency or something.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm sure there's always a rare case, but
Mm-hmm.
I think stress does for sure play a factor, which is why it's so important to like have like outside things, like for example, this dinner or this
Mm.
lunch, to like manage your day. But who knows? I don't know. Good question.
Right?
I don't think we're shortening our life expectancy, but I think if anything, we're living up to our standards.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
achieving your goals will lengthen your life expectancy. That might
No,
be just like some BS, but
no, no. I mean, actually, there's like, so I read this book called Ikigai,
okay.
and it's basically, I think Ikigai, I forget what exactly it stands for, but it's something about like life purpose, finding your life
Uh
purpose.
huh.
And they're saying how like, um, people who have a strong sense of life purpose and put a lot of effort into crafting something or like working on some project or being skilled in a certain thing and like
Hmm.
having a good sense of purpose
Yeah.
end up having a very long life
Mm.
because I forget exactly why, but that drive is what initiates them to have all these like healthy habits and keeps them motivated to do all these things. So they're less likely to like fall into depression
Hmm.
and like other stuff. But yeah, so I do think having a strong sense of life purpose or strong sense of duty is very healthy. So yeah.
No, that's a good point because during our neuro section, we learned about depression. One of the biggest things about like patient advice
Mm-hmm.
was to like kind of give them a community to find a sense of purpose.
Oh yeah.
Because when people lose that sense of purpose, it's like what have they got to live for, and they fall into like a cycle of depression almost.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like what you said, it's really important to kind of like have something to live for, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. And then, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I
Hmm.
guess yeah, like you said, circling back to the patient, especially if they get diagnosed with some type of like terminal illness,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to also highlight how they are not their terminal illness. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like just because you have something doesn't mean that it should define who they are. So I think
Hmm.
it's really important to give the patient a strong sense of autonomy
Yeah.
so they still feel that sense of purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And by the way, just disclaimer: this discussion is just between two first-year medical students. This is not all any advice or anything for
Oh
anyone.
yeah. No,
So
take everything we say with a grain of salt. We don't
yeah,
know what we're doing.
yeah. If anything, we're just like trying to like we're trying to like work towards that one day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah. Okay, so the food's almost done. I feel like we're both almost full now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna wrap things up. Any last comments or anything like that?
Um, no, not really. I can't really think of anything else. Thank you so much for having me and for cooking all of this food. It was amazing.
Hmm.
I really hope that this series pops off, and
Yeah,
I think it'd be really cool to see the evolution of the series. Like,
yeah,
today we have like this is our setup, but
yeah.
imagine like 10 years later
10
when you
years
have
later.
like millions of subscribers, and then you have like glass windows and like all these like cool things, and the food is like gourmet, like Gordon Ramsay made it. You know what I mean? Like I'm excited to see the evolution.
We'll see. We'll see if that happens. This might be like a fun side gig, but
That's true. I'm hopeful. I'm
yeah, we'll see.
hopeful.
We'll see. Crossing the fingers. So my last question before we end things is
Okay.
do you have any advice for anyone that's not in medicine or is in medicine
Mm-hmm.
as a first year medical student?
Oh, so they're about to enter.
Or just advice in general, just like from your perspective of what you've learned so far, your experiences in the past year, just like getting into medical school. Do you have any advice for anyone?
Oh, so someone who's pre med.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay.
Someone who's pre-med or someone who's interested in medicine but doesn't really know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm. Um. Well, I guess this goes back to the strong sense of purpose that we were talking about, but I think it's really important to find out like why you're doing this, because I will say I think medicine is a path that requires a lot of sacrifice, and it's a big time commitment. And it's, I think the lifestyle that you're signing up for is going to be very different than maybe like your average person. And so I think one helpful thing would be to just have a lot of experience, maybe try to volunteer a lot, or be or try to help patients and just surround yourself in that type of environment to see if this is something you really enjoy. And personally, I feel like my biggest motivation comes from all of those experiences that I've had with prior patients and the conversations that I've had with them. That's usually what fuels me during really tough times. And so I think just having those experiences and finding your purpose, what you enjoy, and stuff like that would be helpful. So yeah, just go out there and meet people, try new things, see what you like. And yeah, that's my advice.
Wow. Round of applause for Serena. Thank you very much. Okay, that's a wrap.
Yay!
Yay! Bah! Yeah. The gubernaculum. Yeah, yeah. Oh. Didn't see you guys there. Thank you very much for watching the first episode of Medicine and Mukbang. Or Mukbang and Medicine. Mukbang and Medicine. Thank you guys for watching the first episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the content, the yap session, the food stuff going on. Um, if you guys like the content, go ahead, please like, subscribe, and comment any suggestions you may have. And a special shout out to Serena for being a fantastic first guest. We had a great conversation, so you can find her content as well listed somewhere here, maybe, as well as the description box down below. But yeah, that's it. Till next time. Bye.